I didn't understand a word he said. So I hope you can understand me. I come from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. It is a southern state, so I have a twang to my voice that not all Americans have. Let me start out and give you a couple of facts about Kentucky. For those of you who like a good wager, Kentucky is home of many fast horses, racehorses, and the Kentucky Derby. Kentucky is also the home of 4.6 million people, but we have 5.3 million barrels of bourbon whiskey aging at any one time. So if you don't like horses, you must like bourbon and come visit us. We've got plenty. We've talked a lot about the financials and on a high-level scale, and I want to try to give you a more presentation of how we approach it on that state basis when the actual reports come into our office, what we're looking for. So the main thing to remember, we require the insurance companies to disclose relevant, comprehensive, and adequate information on a timely basis. If they don't do it on a timely basis, I fine them. I give them monetary fines, so they are held to a strict regimen. This information comes to us with the term that we call blanks, self-described. It's forms that are blank, and they complete them when they return them to us. But the other important notice is these are all totally open for public disclosure. Any one person, a competitor, a policyholder, a member of our media, anyone can get these records. So it's full disclosure that we have. The type of accounting system that we use in the United States is called the statutory accounting principle. Now that differs from the GAAP principle that's used primarily with publicly traded entities, and it focuses on consolidated groups. Our SAP principle is really more conservative, and we find that to be very important to have the resources to have the financial stability to pay the policyholder claims. The SAP, there can be some discretion given to the individual regulator from that domiciled state that we can extend what we call permitted practices, but we can also put additional requirements in place. It is left up to the discretion of the domiciled regulator. The disclosure requirements that are included are through what we call the notes, in addition to the blanks, and those notes can include schedules, exhibits, or supplements in addition to that. And it gives very clear cut. I never want to have an insurance company saying, we don't know how to complete this. We give them clear-cut instructions on how to do that. And we have working groups at the NAIC, the SAP working group. It's a good name, isn't it? SAP working group, that are constantly reviewing this to try to make sure that the needed information is included. There is a separate blank for each major type of insurance company. And years ago, before these were filed electronically, all of these were delivered to the department with bright color folders. It looked like spring in Kentucky because we had yellow folders and orange folders and the blue folders. But each statement is for a particular line. Now, these statements come in on a quarterly basis and on an annual basis. But we also have the authority and the ability to require an insurance company to file monthly statements. This happens if possibly they're a troubled company, or if we want to review their financials on a more frequent basis. Each statement type blank has the instruction manual, but the important thing is there is a validation logic that are consistency checks that we also require to be filed with the department. The filing did, and okay. I have no idea. Excuse me. I can't click and talk at the same time. Okay. The filing deadlines are on a yearly basis, and that is 60 days after the year end. The quarterly statements are due, of course, on the 15 days after the end of the quarter each year. On the annual statement, we have a Jurat page, which is also an information page. This is just basically the demographic information about the company. What group is it in? What is its identifying number? Where is it domiciled? What is the, it also has information on the officers, the directors, and it also has an attestation section that we'll discuss in a little bit. Included with the quarterly statement are the balance sheets, the income statement, and the cash flow statement. And then, of course, the exhibits and the schedules that we spoke about earlier that provide more detail. It's a high-level look at the company. There can also be what we call supplemental filings, and these have some different requirements, but these can be done for correction purposes or if there is an event that would have a significant impact on the statement that had just been received. The deadlines for those are somewhat different because of, obviously, they're done on an as-needed basis. All right, there also are supplements for specific lines of business, and not all insurance companies are required to do these. An example would be a bail bond supplement. If you do not sell bail bond insurance, then you're not going to be required to do this supplement. But these deadlines also are somewhat different. Okay, this is the beginning of our annual statement. This is that information page that we talked about. The top section of this includes, as I said, the name of the company, the group that it's in, its identifying information, address, where it's domiciled, how long it's been in business. Then the section in the middle is for the officers. We want to make sure that we're keeping up with who the officers of the company are. And by the way, we keep up with their good standing to make sure that officers have the understanding and the knowledge that they can be successful in running an insurance company. And then we also keep up with the board of directors for the same reasons. The attestation is the bottom section, and this is where we require 3 signatures, not just one, but we require the chief executive officer, the chief financial officer, and also the chief actuary to sign their name that this is being reported in an accurate fashion and that they have adhered to all of the rules of reporting. So if we can't get one person, we've got the possibility of getting the second or the third if there's problems. The additional to the filing, we have the assets page, which is a separate page. Of course, the liabilities page. We have the net investment income page. And then we have the notes that describe particular aspects there. We have the general interrogatories. We have a 5-year historical data exhibit, and then additional documentations that are more specific, like the state page and schedules. So, as I said, when these used to be filed with the departments on a paper format, each filing would probably be about that tall with the paperwork, and that was all done by hand. At my department, we would line them up and down the hallways, and they would be as tall as I was, and it would take forever to go through these. Now everything's done electronically, which is much better for the companies and certainly much better for our folks to review. The asset page, it's the template that's used, uniform, no matter what type of line of insurance, life, property and casualty, health. It has lines for the fixed assets and that are common throughout the industry. But we also have write-in lines if you have a type of asset that might not be common to all industry. It provides for financial ratios that we can look at on their total investment assets and all of the information that our analysts and our examiners need to do their job. Going on the liability page, I think that is self-explanatory. It's unique for each statement type, and it offers a lot of information on the industry segment. One of the most useful aspects that we have on this is we include a current year and a past year. So we can make a very fast determination. Where is this company compared to where it was last year. And that can be on the amount of premium that's written, that can be on their investment, that can be on their liabilities, it can be on any of those segments. And I think we can easily look at that, not just on an annual basis, but as I said, on a quarterly. We can compare quarterly last year to a quarterly this year. So it gives us a real fast review of how this particular company is doing. The net investment income. This exhibit lists all the interest and the dividends and all of the investment income items by the classes. I mentioned about the notes to the financial statements. This is where the company can give us more explanation. They know that we're going to pick up the phone and call them if they have questions. So a lot of times they will go ahead and provide us with this information on a proactive basis, so to avoid getting those calls from the regulators. But they're trying to explain any particular supplemental information that we need. The general interrogatories. These are specific questions that we're asking on their operational, their governance issues, and their financial items. As you know, governance is becoming a very hot topic now with us as regulators. So we not only want to look at their statement and where they are now, but we want to look about their governance issues on how they're going to manage the risk. The Part 1 interrogatories are common to all statements, but we also have a Part 2 that goes specific to each statement. I mentioned the 2-year look back. We also do a 5-year historical data. And again, while the 2-year might be the freshest, it also, the 5-year gives us reporting documentation to look and see how the company need a more comprehensive view. It could have been a bad year. We've had a bad market, on investment income. We can look back and give a better perspective on that. Now, the state page is always interesting because we break this down to the amount of premium and claim amounts for each state. I use this in Kentucky. One of the first questions I might ask with a company is, how much premium do you write in the Commonwealth of Kentucky? How many lives do you have impacted? And that also provides a real quick question to see if this is a company that we have a lot of interest in because of their amount of premium. By the way, I will tell you, in Kentucky, we ranked 26 in the United States in the amount of premium that was written. And in 2013, we had $21.5 billion worth of insurance written in my Commonwealth. And again, we're ranked 26. So that tells you how big an industry that we have there. We have on the life, it has its own separate page because obviously with, we want to have the policyholder residence. Now, how do we track this? Obviously a policy can be issued in one state in the Commonwealth, but we have a very fluid population. They might move to another state, and that insurance company might not even write business in that state, but they have to track that down to that policyholder. So if there's a policyholder in Kentucky that might move to California, and that insurance company doesn't write it there, they still have to report that information on the Kentucky resident. So it's a very comprehensive, good system. The next one is the Schedule T, and that's the premiums and the annuity considerations, and that's a quick summary of the premiums written both by the state and other foreign jurisdictions. Now, I want you to keep in mind that these filings are for the legal entity insurer. It's not for the entire group they belong, so we're not going to see the foreign non-USA jurisdictions on there. And the last slide is on our Schedule D. And this is, again, the investment schedules. And it's a good example to show their long-term bonds. We know those, we track those bonds by their bond number. We also have the private placement or the private security bonds. Every bond has to be listed by its bond number. We have very specific information. We also do the same thing with foreign securities. This is very detailed information. I have folks back home that are much smarter than me. that look at this and advise me on it. But it is extremely important that we track this because, after all, insurance policies, we tell our folks, insurance companies make promises, and we want to make sure they have the sufficient capital to pay the claims and keep the promises. So I thank you. I will make this offer if I can ever be of assistance to you in Kentucky. I cannot ship you a barrel of bourbon, so don't ask for that. You'll have to come on site to visit with that. I have been asked that before. I think there's some, problems with doing that. But if I can ever be of assistance to you as a single state regulator or in my role as being an officer of NAIC, please feel free to contact me. And I thank you for your attention today.